We're going to get started with our Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee work session. This work session is on Bill 4-19, Personnel Merit System Requesting Salary History Prohibited. We have Ms. Luchinsky here, who is the Acting Director of the Office of Human Resources. This is a bill that was sponsored by Councilmember Glass. It was co-sponsored by all council members. We did have a public hearing on March 26th, basically the bill would prohibit the county from requesting salary history from an applicant for county employment and prohibit the county from relying on salary history to determine an applicant's starting salary. Also, I would note that that our council staff has recommended that we enact the bill as introduced. So first, why don't I turn over to Councilmember Glass, who is the lead sponsor, and then we can start the conversation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam President. I don't know which you prefer in your committee, this being my first time here. Thank all three of you for co-sponsoring the legislation, which I think is important timely that we're discussing it right now during the same week that pay equity is of topic here in the United States, across the country, because that is essentially what this legislation aims to do: close the pay gap that currently exists. As we know, here in the state of Maryland, women get paid 77 cents for every dollar a man makes, and that number is worse for women of color. African American women about 69 cents, and Latinas 47. And when a person is hired and their previous salary is requisite for setting their future salary, we only perpetuate that gap. And so with your support, we'll try and close that gap. This isn't the panacea or silver bullet, but it's one tool in the tool chest. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sponsoring this very important legislation. And you're absolutely right. I mean, everything we do that can get us closer to pay equity, we need to do. So this is an amazing, I think, step forward. Councilmember Friedson.
Yeah, I just wanted to add my appreciation to Councilmember Glass, and I think this is an important piece of legislation. An example, as I said at the introduction, of leading by the power of our example and not necessarily the example of our power when it comes to our businesses. We are a large employer, and we should be leading with the type of behavior that we want our other employers in the county to operate under. And I think this is a good example of how we can look inward in the way that we operate and try to create culture of a workplace environment that we hope to be the standard for the rest of our county and the rest of our community. And so I think it is timely in one way that it's Pay Equity Week. It is long past time in another way, and so it's not timely in that way that we should have done this earlier, we should have done this sooner. This problem shouldn't exist, but it does. And to Councilmember Glass's point, this is not a panacea. There are no panaceas on these types of pervasive issues, but taking these tools in the tool chest and putting them forward to move the ball a little bit forward, I think is critically important. And you mentioned the titles. I was recalling Colin Powell. I had a conversation with him, and he was explaining to me about 10 years ago why he prefers to go by General Powell and not Secretary Powell. So I'd be interested at some point, Madam President, Madam Chair, I'll have to learn your preference on which title you think is preferred. But his view, which I thought was interesting, he felt like the title of Secretary was given to him through an appointment, but General was earned. So I thought that was an interesting point that I just recalled. But thank you to Councilmember Glass for introducing this, and to the Council President for her leadership.
Thank you. Vice President Katz.
Thank you very much. I really can't top the whole thing about talking to General Powell, though I would like to talk to him and think what he said about you. But anyhow, but I too just want to congratulate the Councilmember Glass for doing this. Candidly, it never even dawned on me that the county was doing this. I mean, I think of, and thank goodness it did dawn on you. But I think if any of us would have realized it along the way, it would have been corrected as quickly as we could correct it. So I know we're not supposed to say that before we hear about the legislation. I have a feeling this is going to pay us. So anyhow, thanks.
Absolutely, and you know, I also will add that as a mother of two young women, one of which is already in the job world, and the other one that's going to graduate in May, and already has a job offer. These conversations are real, and they're real in my household when they're trying to figure out, how to go about negotiating salaries or what to ask for and things like that. And so it's a work in progress, and you're absolutely right. Whatever we can do really does go a long way and really has a very important impact in everybody's lives. All right, with that, let me turn it over to Mr. Drummer, and then Ms. Plachinsky. If there are any questions, we will definitely address you as well. Mr. Drummer.
Okay. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot to say. The bill prohibits generally the county from asking for salary history, and the theory behind that is although it's a facially neutral personnel tactic, I mean, we do it, it's been done for men, women, and minorities, non-minorities, and it's treated the same if, in fact, you've got a history of having your salary depressed from prior discrimination. It disadvantages you in your starting salary, and as we know, the way the merit system works here, where you start in the scale makes a difference over the years. It's how soon you get to the top, and the only thing I would add is that this actually should help theoretically any group who's been traditionally underpaid because of discrimination, which would include minorities and disabled people and, gender identity and sexual orientation, whatever the problem is, it should help them as well, be able to negotiate a reasonable starting salary. And there was no opposition to the bill in the public hearing. I haven't heard any here. And we do recommend it.
Great. Ms. Plachinsky, anything you'd like to add?
We fully support the bill and plan on putting this in process as soon as possible and building a process in order to roll it out to the department so everybody's on board with how we're going to look at this going in the future. So we're on board, we believe in it, and we'll be working to meet your needs.
Thank you so much. All right, any questions from my colleagues? So I think that with that, we have a council staff recommendation. With that objection, we will accept that.
Without objection.
And we will then report it out to the full council. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're adjourned.
Very good.